I want to know about your musical influences. Who would you guys, each one of you, I want to hear separately from each one of you, who would you consider musically to be your top two influences? Give me like your two biggest musical influences. It's hard, I know.
You want me to start?
Sure. Why not?
Quick.
We'll go there.
You know, I grew up in the 90s.
You guys have a couple seconds.
I grew up in the 90s, so 90s punk rock is my jam. So the first album I ever bought with my own money was Green Day's Insomniac in 1996.
Nice.
And to this day, the first track on that album, Armitage Shanks, brings me back to being 7. And just, they're a huge influence on me, my songwriting style. Second most influence, you know, New York punk has always been my thing too, so the Ramones, and then later on like stuff like Blondie and the Dead Boys and stuff like that as well.
Cool.
Oh boy.
You see, but there's nothing wrong with that. This is how you get the diversity of a band, and it really, you know, really get you to understand where your sound comes from. You know, it really makes it.
Well, I'm a child of the 60s.
Okay.
And I was an older child in the 60s. But I don't know, I'm going to go with, I think the people who've influenced everybody, definitely the Beatles. But as a kid playing drums, there were guys like Carmine Appice and Vanilla Fudge.
Yep.
Guys like that I really followed. And I mean, the first band I was in, professional band, I was 15. So, and you had to learn those things, you know, you couldn't.
Yeah, you couldn't fake it.
I hate to use the word fudge, but you can't fudge it, you know. And so I would say that kind of, a little bit of the heavier, but straight ahead rock and roll.
Nice.
You know, we didn't have punk bands then.
No.
Really. But yeah, those two I would say. Very cool.
Me. Well, I grew up, I mean, you know, Mike said that his first album that he bought was Green Day. I grew up listening to everything that you listened to when I was a kid, so I didn't listen to a lot of like mainstream radio at the time when I was younger. So again, like stuff like the Beatles and things like that. But now, as far as like me personally, a lot of No Doubt. I think I get a lot of influence from that. Gwen Stefani. I love her attitude. I love her energy. You know, so I try to channel a little bit of that. And with that, I love listening to her. Blondie, definitely. Because their music is so catchy, but if you listen to it also, it's very, like, we've covered some of it, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of it, and it's like, it's actually really hard to play.
Wow.
You know? So it's, like, cool listening to it because they make
it.
it seem so easy, which is why they're so great. So definitely them. Maybe a little bit of Pink. A little bit of Pink. I love her attitude. She's always kicking some, you know?
She's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh man.
Okay, your turn.
I've had too much time to think about this now.
Yeah.
Well, Beethoven
It's weird because right. I really love Bach. It's weird because I think there's differences between bands that I love and then bands that I think maybe influence the music that we play. You know, but I grew up with bands like Blondie. I have a poster of Debbie Harry, you know, over my bed.
And we all.
But you know, bands probably a lot of people haven't heard of: the Stranglers, Stiff Little Fingers, Tom Robinson Band. These are all English kind of punk bands or new wave bands. My favorite band of all time, though, remains Queen. I have everything they've ever done, and like, you know, I've been to see them a whole bunch of times. And I think I was thinking about it because I had more time. The way they influence me is I don't. Most of the stuff I write has very little to do with anything. It's just fun. Like I don't want it to like be like political.
You don't want it to mean anything.
Like I don't want. I'm not trying to teach anybody anything. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I just want
convert you to a different,
Yeah,
like,
and
right.
Queen. There's not a song that Queen wrote that really. I mean, they tried later and it was kind of terrible. But I mean, you know, it was like all their stuff was just like for the music's sake. You know, and that's kind of what I want to write. And I don't think you'll hear anything like Queen in anything that we play. But it's more that attitude of just writing for the sake of, you know, writing music. You know? So,
Very cool.
and you got to check out some of the other bands I mentioned too, if you haven't heard of them. So,
I'm going to be taking notes later, going home and YouTubing that real quick. I think that's about it.
And Motorhead.
And
And Motorhead. And Motorhead. Please tell me you got that. I think that's about it. And Motorhead. And Motorhead.
Score and one under the door.
That's great.
I've seen three.
Oh, that was great. And Motorhead. And Motorhead, we're gonna kick your ass. Love it.
If you want to gamble.
That was great. Yeah.